I believe that libraries preserve culture and that they will endure as long as the human instinct to share experiences with one another keeps driving people to tell their stories. What I have learned this semester is that libraries are not just collections of books or ideas, and that they are not even a repository of our collective memories, but rather that they are a gathering of people, some living, some not living, but not a single of them truly dead. The books they house are but one aspect of the resources they make available and the wonders they contain. I wonder how many personal mosaics owe their splotchy flecks to libraries and the shared experiences they loan on beneficently indefinite terms. I have learned that libraries are not depositories, but organic works of art. They are story creators as much as they are story collectors. Stories are everywhere. I once found one in the woods, frozen into the ground. I seek out solitude from time to time, and on that February day, I packed my gear in the middle of the night and drove to the mountains. I started my adventure just before dawn, and was lost sometime before noon. Mountains and forests look different up close. As I took one aimless step after another, I began to feel alone. Solitude is quite different from loneliness, and it was the first I sought, not the latter. All of a sudden, my foot fell through the snow, much deeper than expected. At first, it startled me, but then I realized that I had literally stumbled into another human's tracks, now long buried by weeks of fresh snow, but not erased. I followed the tracks for some time before they disappeared, but for that time, our stories intersected. So many questions flooded my mind. Who was this person? Why was he here? Was he as lost as I was? The snow now told a tale right beneath my very feet. Here was a living story, told weeks ago, but now being revisited by me. Even in books, stories aren't always merely contained within the text. Behind each line, each thought, lies a mind, and each mind has a story. This is why I read. It is also how I read. Behind the consolation of philosophy, for example, lives the story of a man who faced disgrace and a cruel death. I find it difficult to pick up the book without being transported to his cell, wondering how he found the will to write while awaiting an unjust execution. To me, Boethius is not dead. He sits in his prison, teaching me courage, inspiring humanity. There he is, on nearly every library shelf, waiting, always waiting, silently spinning a pitiful tale all the while penning his eloquent verses. Several shelves down from Boethius' cell lives one of my heroes. Unlike poor Boethius, Ernest seems all but imprisoned as he prowls the green hills of Africa or slurs the reminiscences of his young years in Paris over another whiskey. Yet his story also has a darker side. The struggles that consume him, perhaps much akin to Santiago's battle with the giant Merlin, live on in the pages he left behind. I believe that libraries, whether private, public, physical, or digital, house stories, some tragic, some triumphant, some ordinary, and others extraordinary. I also believe that human stories are the very fibers of culture, which is what defines our past and flavors the direction of our future. Libraries are at the core of this temporal directionality, which to me suggests that the future of libraries is inseparably intertwined with the future of our own varied cultural identities, as well as with our more unified identity as human beings. If, as I believe, librarians are integral in the shaping of future identities, then it's no wonder that so many librarians are activists. They have a vested interest in the future. By connecting people to stories, librarians are instrumental in weaving new narratives. Librarians also recognize stories that others might miss, and they remind us to be ever on the lookout for stories by showing us how to search for them, how to recognize them, and how to engage with them. This is called information literacy education. but it can also be thought of as learning to socialize with the shared experiences of others. I believe that libraries will change insofar as the ways in which stories are told may change. But as long as stories are told and shared, libraries will thrive. When I discovered a narrative in Frozen Footsteps on that cold February afternoon, my own experience, and so my own narrative, was affected and changed. I have learned that libraries are becoming less and less about collecting stories, and more about connecting stories. Lending fishing poles and people is just the beginning. I see the future of libraries tending in this direction, and I want my personal story to be intertwined with this collective narrative.